just like you can get injured physically, your spirit could get injured. And I believe that's what you're talking about with your childhood or whatever the case. Like your spiritual health is real. It's not just mental.
No.
I was addicted to things. I went to church one time and then it went away. And I didn't even ask for it to go away. Yeah. And I didn't even ask for it to go away. It just went away. So I'm like, it was a spiritual thing. That's what it came down to, where I thought it was like a mental addiction thing. Mm-hmm. But that's what I've learned that.
I know we've been talking forever, but I have one last question. I loved watching your journey into Christianity and God.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And I like, how did that happen?
Talk about that.
It was not there.
And then it was.
And then it was there.
Yeah. I can talk about this for a long time, but and I want to talk about being bold later. But so long story short, I was sitting in my house. It was a Saturday. I have a almost 4,000 square foot house. My back wall is like a big slider, and I was looking at my pool in my backyard. I had my daughter sitting on me watching TV. I had my other two kids on the couch, and I had my wife in the kitchen, and I was just looking at everything, and I was like, dude, I am not happy. Like, I don't feel happy. I feel anxious. I feel worried. I feel like I should be working, but then I also should be here. And then I also feel like I'm not a good dad and I'm not a good husband. And I feel like I'm not a good business owner. And I was just like, pretty much just in shame. I was just like, just feeling really bad. And then finally I talked to Ryan Pineda, and I was like, dude, this is what I'm feeling. Like, I just feel unhappy. I feel always anxious. I feel mad. I feel all these things. I'm struggling with, porn. I'm struggling with just not being happy.
Yeah.
And then he was like, dude, you got to go to church. And I was like, bro, I don't want to go to church. Like, that's not what I want,
Yeah.
And my wife and I were struggling also. Our relationship was struggling. So I went to church, and then I was like, I'm going to test this out. I'm going to go like 3 or 4 times and give this a shot. And the first day I was there, the pastor was like, one of the tricks of the enemy is he makes you just have all this shame for all these things that you've done. And then he makes you think that you're not good enough to come to the Lord because of all these things. So he wants you to hide. He wants you to hide all these things. And I was just like, bro, that's literally me.
You're like, you're talking to me.
Yeah. I was like, this guy is talking to me. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to commit to this. And I kept going and I kept going. And then I was just like, hey, you know what? This is true. I believe I need to get baptized. So then I got baptized. And then I feel like your faith is almost like a stairs where like there's like new levels.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've had experience where I literally am on just my knees crying, just praying to God. And I've seen people be healed. I've seen marriages restored. I've seen it all. So my faith is so strong. But it just started from just realizing like, hey, like you could have all this crap that you think you want. And then once you get it, you're going to realize like, oh crap, this is actually nothing. And it's hard when people don't have anything. They're like, oh, well, yeah. But
easy for you to say.
It's easy for you to say. But what I've realized is you could have both. You could have a strong relationship with Christ and be successful in business and have a good marriage and be a good parent. You don't have to do either or. And I feel like that's a lie that people get deceived by. Is like, well, you come back to this later. Like, focus on this money right now and then come back to it later when that's not the case. You could have it all at once. So that's what I believe.
One equals the other, I feel like, too. You know what I mean? The more you have a strong relationship with the Lord, it fills your cup in all those other areas as well.
Yeah. So what is your guys' faith like? What are you guys at?
I am a firm believer in Jesus Christ. I've been a Christian since I was in high school. And I think that nothing tests your faith more than your family getting ripped apart. I mean, when I was 6 or 7, I had the feds come into my home and take my parents, and my parents were incarcerated for a period of time.
Oh, wow.
So I know what it's like to have a broken home and have to rely on and really have nothing but trusting that something was going to work out. And so God has shown up in my life so many times where it was so obvious that it was him. It's undeniable. So I've always had a personal relationship with my Lord and Savior. And I think it's personal for everyone, and everyone's journey is personal. But yeah, dude, he's my homie. He's there every day. I talk to him every day. And I don't think that you can, I got to a point in our entrepreneur journey where I was also unhappy. And that was a time where I think I wasn't as connected to my spirituality and to my relationship with the Lord and to my relationship with myself. You know what I mean? And where we were making $1 million a year, it was like so good. It was everything you aspired to have if you're a business owner, and and I was miserable. I was so unhappy. I was depressed. I told him several times, I'm like, I don't want to do real estate. I want to quit. Like, this isn't how it's supposed to be. But it was because I was searching for happiness externally. You know what I'm saying? And that's never going to be the answer. The answer is always to search for your happiness and your peace within your spirituality and within yourself. And so it wasn't until I went down that journey, and I talk about that openly to a lot of people that ever ask me about, I went back to counseling. I started because I had trauma from my childhood that was unresolved, and I never dealt with it. And if you don't deal with it, and then you're lacking that spirituality component, you're always going to feel like something's missing. You're always going to go externally to try and fill that void. When in reality, you don't need to. You can rely on Jesus, and you can strengthen who you are as a human.
Yeah.
So
my journey was a little different, but I grew up in the church. So like every Sunday, singing hymns out of the hymn,
like traditional,
very Protestant traditional. I went to a private Christian school. I was very sheltered. I was in Awanas. I learned all the Bible verses, and
me too.
Got baptized when I was a baby. You know what I mean? And my family we grew up in the church, and I rebelled. Like my junior, senior year, kind of turned my back and rebelled from that, and went down this totally different path. Like, I knew that I always felt guilt and shame. Like I knew God was there, but I was just running on my own will. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think for me, it got really, really bad, right? Like, I started with like pills, and then it ended with heroin, and it was a 12-year journey, right? Where I was in and out of jails. I went to like 5 treatment centers. At the end of the rope, it was standing in front of a judge, and the judge said, Kamohai, you're going to go to prison for 10 years. We're going to send you on your open 10, or you can go to this treatment center called Sand Island Treatment Center, another treatment center, but it's a 2.5-year program. So I chose not to go to prison, went to that program, but during that program, I reconnected with my God and my faith, right? And it really turned my life around. I also met my wife at the treatment center. So her mom was my boss at the treatment center. And I ended up working in the treatment center. I ended up staying there for 4 years. And that's where our life changed. You know what I mean? It was crazy, but it was a faith turned away and kind of doing my own thing, and then coming back.
Yeah. What about like in those treatment centers? Do they like preach the gospel to you guys, or did you just like find it on your own?
They talk about higher power. Higher power. It's very political. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be like, Jesus, this. It's like whatever your higher power resonates for you in your own life. Lean on that.
Yeah, they preach, they talk about spirituality. Yeah. So it's like, but nothing specific. Like, they won't push anything specific. It's just, you need some spirituality and you need to believe in a power greater than yourself is what they always say.
It's very AA model. So the 12 steps.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's very interesting.
So how did you find your home church?
Everyone at my office, it's interesting because everyone at my office was Christian, but I just didn't even like realize it. I was just like, oh, they're Christian. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And then I just started going to one of the young guys here. Leads up to a good point about being bold. He was like, dude, come to church for, I don't know if it was Easter or something. And I was just like, I'm good. And then he kept asking me, and then he was the one that actually, because I had the conversation with Ryan, and then he was inviting me. So then I went, and it's like, dude, after I got baptized, like 5 to 10 people in our office got baptized. Because I was just like, dude, you got to come to church. You got to come to church. And then so many people, we had a guy that like got baptized and joined a ministry school, like super on fire.
Yeah.
So I believe, being bold about your faith is so important. Mm-hmm. Just like you guys talk about real estate, you guys got to be telling people about the Lord because the people need it. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I just didn't realize before. I would see someone that was like stressed out and hurting, and I'm like, oh, like they'll get it. They'll get over it. But those people have vices. And if they're not turning to God, they're doing somewhere else.
They're turning somewhere else. Yeah.
Something else is happening. Rather, they want to. It could be porn. It could be drugs. It could be cheating. It could be
whatever
it is.
Yeah.
Gambling, smoking. Whatever. And that's when I realized I was like, oh, people need this. So I just became way more bold with my faith. And it just helped. It's helped so many people. I've seen so many people get baptized. I've seen relationships get healed. I've seen people cured from cancer. I've seen so much already that I'm like, okay, this is real. And the spiritual realm is just as real as, just like you can get injured physically, your spirit could get injured. And I believe that's what you're talking about with your childhood or whatever the case. Like your spiritual health is real. It's not just mental.
No.
Like I was addicted to things, and my wife doesn't like me to talk about it, and when I say addicted is a strong word, but I did things.
Yeah.
I watched porn. No. And for years I'm like, I don't want to watch this, but like, why do I keep doing this? I went to church one time and then it went away. And I didn't even ask for it to go away. Yeah. And I didn't even ask for it to go away. It just went away. So I'm like, was this just like it was a spiritual thing. That's what it came down to, where I thought it was like a mental addiction thing. Mm-hmm. But that's what I've learned that.
You gotta approach life holistically. It's not just your mind. It's not just your spirit. It's not just your emotions. They're all connected together. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And if you're only focusing on one, and I talked about that. I remember it was like it was like a Mother's Day women's conference for real estate, but I didn't even talk about real estate. I talked about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
100%.
This is what's missing in the real estate space, in the entrepreneurship space. It's always like, oh, we'll just have a strong mindset and just get it done. It's that like pure grit. I'm like, no, that's not, that'll get you in the door, but what's going to keep you in the race long term?
100%.
It's feeding all of this. It's having these conversations and being bold with what's working in your life and relying on Jesus to help you through it,